Students will be returning to the University of Kentucky in nearly a month, but due to COVID-19 concerns, the university has implemented some changes on move-in and how resident halls will operate this fall semester.
A new COVID-19 testing program in Lexington is focusing on a hard-hit minority community. Now they're hoping to stop the spread.
And the death of Breonna Taylor is leading lawmakers to push for changes. We'll hear about the bill being drafted to ban the use of no-knock search warrants in Kentucky.
This is Wkyt News at 5:30.
Good evening to you. Kentuckians will be required to wear masks starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. Governor Andy Beshear announcing the executive order about an hour ago.
He also announced more than 300 new positive cases of COVID-19 in the state. That pushes our total past 18,000. 4 more Kentuckians died from the virus. The governor wants to prevent more spikes, more large increases in cases and deaths in the Commonwealth. And that's why he's called for the mask order. Here's where you must wear one.
What this means is that all customers in retail facilities must wear a mask. In grocery stores, must wear a mask. In most forward-facing businesses, must wear a mask. If you are indoors and you can't get 6 feet from individuals on anything that's not covered, must wear a mask. And outside, if you cannot be 6 feet away from another individual, must wear a mask.
There are a couple of exceptions. Children under the age of 5 don't have to wear a mask. And if you have a health condition, you don't have to wear one as well. We have more details on the governor's mask order. WKYT's Garrett Weimer's at the alert desk tonight with 3 things you need to know. Garrett?
Well, Sam, we still haven't seen the full emergency order the governor issued yet, but here are a few things he said about the mandate. We do know it will go into effect at 5 p.m. tomorrow, so he's giving everyone about 24 hours now to get ready for it. And as the governor said, masks will be required in nearly all public spaces. That includes retail and grocery stores. Now, for bars and restaurants, the governor said you will have to wear a mask at your table until your order arrives. The governor says you'll also have to wear a mask at any indoor or outdoor space where you can't social distance. Finally, the governor says it will be up to local health departments across the state to enforce the order, not police. And Sam, the governor said if you're not wearing a mask, you can't be served at stores or restaurants.
Garrett, thank you. Move-in for students at the University of Kentucky is only a month away, and UK is changing how and when students will move in.
It's an effort to keep everyone safe during this pandemic. WKYT's Adam Bernstein explains in our top story at 5:30.
Move-in week will look much different this year for students at the University of Kentucky. They're now all required to sign up for a specific move-in appointment window so that the university can help spread out students and families to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
We spread the move-in appointments out, so it's over a 9-day period rather than, say, 3 days.
And while typically move-in day is a whole family affair, the university will also be limiting the number of guests each student brings to help them move in.
Only bring 2 people, the 2 people that are going to be able to help you get set up and settled.
Along with move-in, the University of Kentucky has also made some changes to room assignments in certain residence halls to help maintain social distancing and so that no 2 students would be sleeping in the same room.
At least 2/3 of our halls are built where everyone has their own private bedroom. About 25% where that was not possible. So say in a 4-person suite, you'll actually have 2 people, one that will have their private bedroom, and then the other will also have their private bedroom.
As for staff, Wkyt says resident assistants will be getting special training this year from health experts, and all halls and other buildings will have other protections in place to follow CDC guidelines.
We're going to have plexiglass behind the front desk so the RAs can still, communicate up front, do those things that they need to do, but still be protected.
At the University of Kentucky, Adam Bernstein, WKYT.
And UK also has a goal to have all first-year students moved into their residence halls before the start of K Week. It begins August 13th. A new COVID-19 testing program in Lexington is focusing on the city's East End, historically a black neighborhood.
We have seen this virus have a disproportionate impact on minorities. Andrea Walker shows us what's different about this testing site.
Free COVID-19 testing is being offered today at Shiloh Baptist Church in Lexington. As you can see, folks are willing to wait in line for these tests. The goal of today's event is to try and curb the spread of the virus among two key demographics.
Good morning. I need your ID and your name.
Nearly half of the current COVID-19 cases in Lexington involve members of the Black and Hispanic communities. Local leaders chose Shiloh Baptist specifically in hopes that folks in these highly susceptible groups would feel more comfortable in their own community being tested. And if this morning's long line of cars is any indication, the location looks to be a hit.
Yeah, when I first seen it on the news this morning, I said, I'm going. So I got up and got dressed and came. I have grandkids, and I want to be healthy for them, and it's for myself as well, and the community.
One unique aspect about this site is that both drive-up and walk-up appointments are available, no appointment necessary. You will be asked for insurance before being tested, but organizers assure us the testing will be free either way. Now, testing ended at 1 o'clock today, but the site will be open again tomorrow from 2 to 8 and Saturday from 9 to 3. Now, if you're anything like me, you've heard a few horror stories about how uncomfortable these tests are, but I do have some good news. Everyone we spoke to who was leaving the event today said it wasn't as bad as they expected. In Lexington, Andrea Walker, Wkyt.
For more testing information, you can call the Fayette County Health Department's COVID-19 hotline. We have that number posted for you in this story on WKYT.com. Well, it is another day of storms and showers in places here in central Kentucky.
Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is here. And Chris, what is tonight looking like so far?
Yeah, we've got a few scattered thunderstorms that are out there again. Obviously, earlier in the day, we had some big time thunderstorms that caused some wind damage in Lexington for the third day in a row. We had wind damage here into Fayette County. A lot of wind damage around the capital city of Frankfort as well. 9 different sky cams showing that we've got a mainly dry sky that is on the 9 different cams. Here in Lexington, the view from our tower cam with a little bit of sunshine. It's only 78 degrees. Winds are out of the north right now. Really strange, but we've got these outflow boundaries that are floating around the region. And those are little pockets of rain-cooled air coming from earlier showers and thunderstorms that have collapsed. So we started out the day with a thunderstorm cluster right on top of Lexington. So now we look at the one dry area. It is into central Kentucky after those storms have calmed down. So we almost had outflow boundaries shooting in all directions from that decaying complex of storms. And you can still see that moving to the west of us. So it's interesting on how the fluid dynamics of the atmosphere sometimes just take control. Any isolated shower or thunderstorm down the Mountain Parkway is decreasing. A little more action across Hyden into Manchester, around Harlan County as well. Cold front to our northwest. We'll contend with that for the day tomorrow, and that is Tropical Storm Faye off the North Carolina coast. We'll touch on both here in just a few.
Chris, thank you. A man has pled guilty in connection to a Lexington murder from 2013. Court officials say Travis Breadhold pled guilty earlier this week. Police say he shot and killed Mike Patel during a robbery. His trial has been on hold as Breadhold's attorney argued whether the death penalty should be on the table. At the time of the shooting, Breadhold was 18 years old. His lawyers have taken their argument to the Kentucky Supreme Court, saying the average male brain doesn't fully develop until age 25. He is set to be sentenced September 11th. We don't know yet a recommended sentence at this point.
Kentucky Senate President Robert Stivers says a bill is in the works that would ban the use of no-knock warrants in the state.
The issue has gained nationwide attention after the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. Police were executing a no-knock warrant that night. WKYT's Chelsea Jones breaks down the details of the bill.
Kentucky Senator Robert Stivers is pushing this message.
There is not a place in law enforcement for a no-knock search warrant.
Today, the Republican Senate president announced he's sponsoring a bill that bans no-knock warrants. The move comes after Breonna Taylor died at the hands of 3 Louisville police officers. They were executing a no-knock warrant related to a drug investigation.
We're not talking about whether she was right or wrong, but for whatever was done there, they could have asked her when she came home from work. We have a search warrant. As she walked out of the house, the next morning. We have a search warrant, but a no-knock warrant at 1 o'clock at night, that's bad policing.
However, Stiver's bill does allow officers to execute a search warrant during an arrest. It requires the approval of law authorities and mandates that special police units issue the warrant when there's likely to be harm. Officers who violate the bill's parameters could lose qualified immunity and even their state certification. Stiver says the bill is gaining support on both sides of the aisle.
Again, I have to say, no-knock warrants have a long and bloody history.
But some lawmakers are somewhat critical, like Senator Danny Carroll, a former police officer.
I'm not completely sold on totally doing away with search warrants with no knocks. There are times if you're working a homicide case.
Either way, Stiver says this bill is a step in the right direction and hopes it starts dialogue on better policing. At the Capitol, Chelsea Jones, WKYT.
Lawmakers say other issues to address include officer training, transparent reporting, and de-escalation tactics.
There was a hearing today for the man who's accused in the deadly shooting of a protest photographer in Louisville. A detective testified that Stephen Lopez admitted to the shooting that killed 27-year-old Tyler Girth at Jefferson Square Park. Lopez claimed people were coming after him. The detective said the video shows that was not true. The case has been sent on to a grand jury. Lopez is charged with murder and 9 counts of wanton endangerment. Bond set at $500,000.
As the number of people exploring the Red River Gorge increases, rescue crews are expecting more calls for help. We'll explain ahead.
I'm Bill Bryant. Candidates have to figure out how to campaign in the COVID-19 era, and the results are in from some rechecks of the primary elections. Stay with us on WKYT.
As the November election approaches, candidates are gearing up and preparing to reach potential voters in ways they may never have before.
WKYT's Bill Bryant has the details in today's Bottom Line.
Good evening. Because of COVID-19, the fall election campaign in America and certainly here in Kentucky is obviously going to be very different. Candidates will have to rely on different ways to reach voters because in-person opportunities will be very limited. The traditional kickoff to Kentucky campaigns at Fancy Farm in western Kentucky will have no speeches. Many county fairs and town festivals are canceled, and even major events like the Derby will have no fans and no opportunity for politicians to mix and mingle as they've done over the years. On the national level, Democrats have called off their in-person national convention and plan to go all virtual when they nominate Joe Biden for the presidency. Biden has also decided against major campaign rallies in the fall. And President Trump now acknowledges that he may have to tamp down his planned acceptance of the Republican nomination in Jacksonville, Florida, where he had planned to address supporters. Now the president has told Gray TV's Greta Van Susteren things are flexible.
We're always looking at different things. When we signed in Jacksonville, and again, we wanted to be in North Carolina, that almost worked out, but the governor didn't want to have people use the arena, essentially, and we sort of, that's too bad for North Carolina. And then we went to Florida, and when we signed a few weeks ago, it looked good, and now all of a sudden it's spiking up a little bit, and that's going to go down. So it really depends on the timing. Look, we're very flexible. We can do a lot of things, but we're very flexible.
Kentucky's U.S. Senate campaigns will be different as well. Candidates are traveling some. Democratic challenger Amy McGrath and Republican incumbent Mitch McConnell are expected to rely heavily on TV ads and digital outreach this year. Before coronavirus caused the state legislature to wrap things up quickly and get out of Frankfurt, 124 new laws and a state budget were passed. Most of those laws go into effect next week, July 15th. One will allow veterinarians to report suspected cases of animal abuse to authorities. Another will allow the shipment of alcohol directly from makers to consumers. There were re-canvasses today in 2 hotly contested state House primaries. Secretary of State Michael Adams says there were no changes. The recheck confirmed the totals. Incumbent State Representative Travis Brenda of Rockcastle County was defeated by 30 votes in the 71st District Republican primary by Josh Bray. And in the Democratic primary in the 81st District in Madison County, the re-canvass confirms Mike Eves defeated Martina Jackson Haynes for the nomination by 171 votes. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
More people these days are exploring the outdoors, and the numbers of rescues are going up. A lot of people are heading to the Red River Gorge. Just a beautiful place, of course, but some first-timers are getting stuck and they need help from rescue and search teams. And depending on the rescue, the Wolfe County Search and Rescue Team says at least a dozen team members are needed if a serious injury has happened. And with COVID-19 numbers still high, mask and social distancing is an issue.
Just because there's a wilderness rescue going on doesn't mean COVID isn't still a factor. And so when we're operating in close quarters, we always have to wear masks. While that definitely poses challenges, it's definitely a necessity.
And remember, if you head to the gorge, especially during these summer months, remember to stay hydrated.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
Dealing with a steamy atmosphere again today across the area, but we had those thunderstorms a little earlier that were putting down a lot of heavy rain. They were noisy, even wind damage again. Day 3 of that in a row into different parts of Fayette County. Right now, we look into Hamburg Pavilion, and you can see that steamy atmosphere. And if you look way in the distance, and I mean way in the distance right here, you see the top of a little thunderstorm that is down almost to Virginia. So when you got a camera that's 300 feet high, it's an HD 360 cam, boy, we can get the tops of thunderstorms from a lot of real estate away from us. 78, that's it, 78 right now. You walk outside, though, you're sweating because the humidity is sky high. Those earlier thunderstorms dissipating, they put out rain-cooled boundaries going to the west, and now you can see that little mini cold front that is producing thunderstorms around Louisville, around Interstate 65, up around parts of the Covington-Cincinnati area, and some additional storms are firing up across the south and southeast. Lexington area storms are decreasing. Good thing. If you got some outdoor plans this evening. Across the Mountain Parkway corridor between the Mountain Parkway and 64, we had some of those thunderstorms decreasing. There you go with the storms we were looking at on our tower cam just a little bit ago. Boy, it's putting down some heavy rain, Harlan County into especially Leslie County, eastern parts of Clay County. Down here, obviously with the hilly terrain, does not take as much water to cause some local issues. We'll keep an eye on that. To the west of us, thunderstorms are going to continue to go up. Now, anyone is fair game for a pop-up thunderstorm this evening, but to our northwest, that's a cold front. That's going to head into Kentucky tomorrow to kick off your weekend. So for the better part of the past week, we've talked about how a system was going to work slowly across the southeastern seaboard or toward the southeastern seaboard from the deep south and emerge into the Atlantic and become a tropical system. Well, say hello to Tropical Storm Faye. Faye is going to shoot due north as a tropical storm, and look at where this is forecast to make landfall. New York City. A tropical system in July heading to New York City. And this is the earliest we've ever had that we've reached the F storm in any given year on at least recorded history. Cold front moves in tomorrow. Really nice weather on Saturday, and another cold front is going to follow that up back here in Kentucky for the day on Sunday. Pleasant temperatures for the most part, guys. This weekend into early next week. Monday looks especially nice. The end of next week, yeah, not so much.
Thank you, Chris.
More than 1 million Americans filed for unemployment. Coming up, the latest companies announcing layoffs and store closings. Kentucky is seeing a decrease in unemployment claims. More than 23,000 claims were filed last week, down more than 7,500 from the week before.
But unemployment remains historically high across this country, even though more Americans are going back to work. Michael George has a look at the latest nationwide unemployment numbers.
Brooks Brothers opened its first store 200 years ago. The company operated through several wars and the Great Depression, but the coronavirus shutdowns proved to be too much. The retailer is filing for bankruptcy and will permanently shut down 51 stores. It's just the latest business letting workers go. Last week, 1.3 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits, a drop from previous weeks, but a number that would have been a record before the pandemic. And more layoffs are on the way. Bed Bath & Beyond is shutting down about 200 stores over the next 2 years. Sur La Table is closing more than 50 stores, nearly half of its locations. In the hard-hit airline industry, United says it may have to lay off up to 36,000 workers this fall.
The labor market has been turned on its head. Before this crisis, there were 1 million more job openings than unemployed workers. Now there are, millions more unemployed workers. And so it'll be harder for each one to find work, and the job search may take longer.
Many unemployed workers are still battling to get benefits.
Very frustrating. It's just, I feel like I'm a dead end.
Rosa Castillo lost her job in March in California and has yet to receive any money.
So I have really nothing to survive on.
People across the country are experiencing similar delays as understaffed unemployment offices remain overwhelmed by millions of applications. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
WKYT News at 6 is next.